This is On the Sidelines with Box 13.
All right, welcome back into another episode of the On the Sidelines podcast. I'm your host, Ethan McReynolds, here as always with my partner in crime, DJ Dante Jackson, and a special guest for today. He is back, Charles Hamaker from Circling Seattle Sports. Anywhere, anything going on with Seattle Sports, Charles is there. Charles, thank you so much for taking the time and being here for Seattle Sports.
It's great to be back. Ethan can tell you, I was like, hey, next time you want me back, I'll be here. Just let me know. So I'm excited.
You are one of our favorite guests,
Yes.
so we love having you on. The top 5 Dead or Alive that we did with you is it's my personal favorite.
that's right.
Not only because you picked my side of the argument.
That's why.
You know, hey, just a little bit. But we've got another one for you, so stick around to the end of the episode if you want to see that.
And let me add, it couldn't be a name more apropos than Circling Seattle because you are everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the hardest working man in show business.
Absolutely.
I see D-Jack in the notifications too. He's not lying. He sees it all. I see the name. I'm like, hey.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. A lot of sports to talk about. We're going to try to get through a bunch of teams today just in this hour-long episode. Also, we've got an interview with Tim Booth talking NBA expansion in just a little bit, so stick around for that. Let's start with the Mariners. Big series against the Astros coming out of the break. They end up taking 2 out of 3. Little bit sour taste in your mouth. They get the first 2, had the chance for the sweep, don't get it. At the end of the day, you beat the AL West leading Astros in a 3-game set. The season series is tied now with 3 games to go, just that final series in September. Not a bad weekend for the Mariners, Charles.
No, not at all. I think you talk about sour taste. I mean, there was a funny show of like winning a 3-game series. If you feel a little bit better, if it's win, loss, win.
I saw that
to
exact
the win, loss.
Yes.
So yeah, and especially since it was a blowout. If it was a tight one, you think, you're almost there. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like you said, still to get 2 of the 3, that's big. Just win series. That's the whole point, right?
I want them to have that killer instinct. I'm not
Yeah.
satisfied. I'm
Yeah.
one of them ones.
Yeah.
I'm one of them fans, Charles.
that's fair.
And then you go get blowed out by Brewers, who is the hottest team in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that, but it's alarming right now in these last 2 losses. I mean, the way they lost, the fashion that they lost. I'm concerned about the Mariners right now.
Well, I was going to raise the question because, Cal Raleigh, the bulk of their offense, the biggest reason they are a top 10 offense in baseball through the first half of the year has, call it a mini slump. Last 15 games, he's hitting just 143 with 5 home runs, pretty good in 15 games, but just 7 hits. 5 of them are home runs. Wanted to bring out the Puget Sound panic meter. This is new since we had you
okay.
on.
Yes.
1 through 10, Charles. 10 being the most panicked, 1 being the least panicked. How panicked are you about Cal Raleigh with his little swoon he's in right now, we'll call it?
Sure. It's funny. I wrote that in my notes. I'm at a 6 because he's had a few little slumps here and there. Let's get through this series. He did whip that single into left field late into the game, sure. But yeah, I am noticing though. That is a good point because I mean, outside of Cal, I mean, who do you have consistently? Not a lot. So
D-Jack, what's
I would
panic
say
meter
a
with you?
3. I'm not worried at all because if he goes back to being regular Cal, he's still an above average player. I didn't expect him to keep that pace. So this is kind of falling into what we all thought. You was wondering when the shoe was going to drop with Cal. When was he going to come back down to earth? I think that is happening right now, but he's still above average, and I think he can still help carry this Mariners team to the playoffs.
Yeah, for me, I'm between you guys, but I'm sort of leaning closer to Charles. I'm going to put it at a 5, just because I feel like this offense is so reliant on Cal Raleigh to carry them. Now, the reason I'm not up at you, Charles, at a 6 or even higher than that is because you've got the trade deadline in 9 days. And so hopefully you've got some reinforcements coming in that take the pressure off of Cal a little bit to where D-Jack, if he's not living up to the standard that he set in the first half, you don't necessarily need him to. You're not getting shut out 6-0 by the Brewers. You know what I mean? So, I'm going to put my panic meter at a 5, partly because we've been talking about this. We sort of expected a little bit of a let-off from Cal. I mean, the guy didn't get a break, and he's playing the most grueling position in all of sports. Had the home run derby, caught however many innings in the All-Star game. So, he's been working, and, a little bit of a slump post-All-Star break, not really the most shocking thing in the world to me.
What you think, Charles? You had something to say.
Oh no, I think that's a good point. Is mentioning the trade deadline because you add another key bat that takes weight off of everybody else because your top 4 hitters in JP, Julio, Cal, and Randy. Those 2 ladder like Randy's like late first half surge was great.
Yes.
But I mean because it kind of drops off from there. you're playing Dylan Moore. Dylan Moore's got 2 hits over the last 2 months. And there's a better number, but he's unplayable.
It's pretty
and they're
bad.
Still starting it. I hope we don't get to game time today and he's playing again. That's what my point is. You mentioned the deadline. That's huge because not only you get a legitimate key bet in and of itself, but you take pressure off the rest of the lineup. Yes. That'll be huge.
Well, and you mentioned trade deadline and getting a bat. Eugenio Suarez, I think #1 on every single Seattle Mariners fan's wish list, other than Ronald Acuna. We've been talking a lot about him on this show because I think it's very fun to dream a little bit. But as far as the realistic targets, Eugenio Suarez, everyone wants a reunion with him. He's been red hot. 7 home runs in his last 6 games. He's sort of playing himself into a price that I'm worried Jerry Dipoto and Justin Hollander won't pull the trigger. At least there's more competition for his bat now because of how well he's been playing. 7 bombs in the last 6 games. Are you guys worried at all that the competition for his services is going to be a little bit too strong for the Mariners to ultimately go out and he's the perfect player that they need?
Well, it's funny you say that because there was a report from Adam Jude with the Times today that they're one of the teams that's made calls. I get a little nervous seeing the Yankees go up because the Yankees that will stop it. Essentially,
they will do anything, but they have no boundaries.
Yes, you did outbid them for Luis Castillo a few deadlines ago.
This is true.
And the thing is, the few things I've looked at and what I've read is that the Yankees want to swing a multiple player deal with Arizona. The Mariners just want a Eugenio. They don't care about Josh Naylor as much, which I was reading. So that actually makes me feel better because coming into last night, I was just like, I think I also read the Cubs are interested in him. I was like, so those are 2 teams that are higher than you in the in standing. I feel a little bit worried, but seeing that they just care about one guy maybe makes their odds better to me.
Well, and nobody has more ammunition than the Mariners. You just got to go get it done, right?
Yes, and I feel the same way. I was just about to say the same thing. The Mariners have what the Yankees don't, and that's prospects. I mean, top prospects. Yeah. And I ain't never scared. I'm not scared of the Yankees these days. That's when their reputation precedes them. When you think about the last 10 years, the Yankees are not the Dodgers. The Dodgers are the team that the Yankees used to be. The Yankees, they get their players and they still have a high payroll, but they don't wheel and deal like they used to back in the day. So I think this is where their reputation kind of precedes them. I think the Mariners can outbid them. I think they can offer a package that the Yankees can't. The only thing that gives me pause is we had this guy here. I just can't get over that. He was here. He was let go in a salary dump, I believe. And
Carlos
now we're
Vargas,
about to give up prime top prospects. A prime top prospect for him to get him back. And only for the rest of the year. So, last week I said, I don't care how many days you have him, how much control you have, go get him. I don't know if he's that guy.
Interesting. I mean, the one thing, he is a rental. His contract is up at the end of the year. I feel like he's one of those guys that because you had him before, and unfortunately you gave him up for peanuts, but you come here, you could convince him to stay here. He loved it here. He has a great relationship with Julio, with Luis Castillo, obviously. I feel like he's a candidate to where he is a rental bat, and maybe you can pay maybe a higher rental price at the top of the market, but he's still a rental at the end of the day, but I think you can get him to potentially stay here. Let's wrap up on the Mariners. We have a lot to get to, but they've got 2 more against the Brewers, and then they head on the road to play a couple of division rivals in the Angels and
they
the
play Mizorowski tonight. They say it's the phenom right now. I mean, you're talking about what? I mean,
that guy's ridiculous.
Good luck.
He's an alien.
Good luck,
he really is. You got to win this one to have a chance at the series. So hopefully the Mariners can get it done. And we'll be looking ahead to the trade deadline. We're going to have a lot more on that next week. Let's go to the Seahawks. Training camp starts tomorrow. Wow. Tomorrow.
Yes.
Guys are going to throw pads on tomorrow. Be practicing full contact. The big piece of news, obviously, Noah Fant getting released the other day. That is a young tight end room that the Seahawks are coming in with. And DJ, you mentioned it, with all the pivoting the Seahawks did this offseason, they freed up a lot of cap space. We expected them to go out in free agency and make some splash moves. They made a couple. They bring in DeMarcus Lawrence, right? Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Cooper Kupp. But a lot of space. Still a lot more money to be able to spend. You cut Noah Fant when I feel like you could have helped this football team. You save $8.5 million. what's the point if you're not going to use that money, right? So, I mean, is a trade coming up? Like what do you see, Charles?
It's a great point because, yeah, you save $9 million in cash, just under that in cap space. I mean, well, the other thing was you've got a few players coming up that need extensions. Charles Cross will need an extension, stuff along that line. Yeah. So you could look at it like that, but so many of the things that I've read, because there's a lot of stuff coming out lately about where the league sees teams. They have Seattle in like the bottom third. Yeah. Which maybe I'm more optimistic. I think that maybe more in the middle. Yeah. So I'd think maybe, John Schneider says, hey, we are looking at a guy who, yes, he's young, but he hasn't produced that much, in somewhat of a pass-heavy offense the last few years. You're going to save $9 million. Maybe they do. I think that something's coming here because this isn't the timing that the Seahawks normally have for these sort of releases anyway.
Yes, and I call this a classy move by John and the Seahawks. I think they released him early enough to where he can catch on with another team. I really do. I think it's a classy move by the Seahawks by letting him go. Now let's talk about the tight end position in the Seahawks history period. The tight end has never been a great position for the Seahawks. They never can capitalize on that position. So why invest that much money in that position? I like Barner. I think Barner had a surprising rookie season.
I like Barner.
Everybody talks about Elijah Arroyo being explosive and being a receiver, but I think Barner will take that position. So I like that move. I like how young the tight end room is. I don't want to invest a bunch of money into that position. Let's go all the way back to what? The greatest, one of the greatest tight ends ever, at least he was on that arc at that time, Jimmy Graham. Let's talk about Jimmy Graham. He was on the arc to be the greatest tight end ever. Better than Gronkowski, better than Kelsey, better than Shannon Sharp. He came to Seattle, and he might not even be in the Hall of Fame right now. They do not do well with the tight end position, so why invest in it? Get a young player like Barner. Barner can do everything. He's not great at one thing. He can block, he can catch. So I like the investment in that tight end position because you've shown the ability or the inability to highlight that position.
What's funny about that? He actually retired this morning. Jimmy Graham retired.
Are you serious?
So
wow.
he's done.
Breaking news.
So it's wondering, is he a Hall of Famer?
Let the Hall of Fame discussion,
the Seahawks
commence.
tenure did it tank?
Yeah, I think the Seahawks had something to say about that.
Yeah, well, it is interesting. You point out going cheap with the tight ends. I think it's a good idea just because of Clint Kubiak, the offensive system he's coming in. It's not a pass-heavy attack, so you can get away with cheaper guys that are good at the little things that Kubiak needs in this offense. I will say I am a little bit concerned going into the season with your top two tight ends having 1 year of pro experience between them. It's a little young for me, and you see, on paper, talent only gets you so far. You see a lot of small mistakes in the penalty department with young players a lot of the time. So I don't know anything about Elijah Arroyo. But with this move, he's going to be thrust into a role. He needs to contribute this season on this offense for this to play out the way the Seahawks want to.
I think they bring in a veteran. I mean, I think John knows how to put together a team. I just don't think you need to invest $9 million in a Noah Fant who never showed up. Let's just be honest. Let's call it what it is. I like Noah Fant as a person, as a player, but he never showed up for the Seahawks. And I think that's twofold. That's Noah Fant, and that's the Seahawks scheme, or whatever, the history of tight ends here. They just don't have great luck with the tight end position. So, the one caveat being with the $9 million saving in cap space, everybody keeps talking about, you got to put it somewhere else. Now, could Trey Hendrickson be on the horizon for the Seahawks?
Oh, man. I hope so. I really hope so. You can never have enough pass rushing, right? And the Seahawks, out of all, we talk about the Mariners and the ammunition that they have. The Seahawks have all the cap space in the world to go out, give up some draft picks. I mean, Trey Hendrickson is a known commodity. You know what you're going to get from him. John Schneider has not been shy about trading draft picks. Percy Harvin, Jimmy Graham, Jamal Adams. John Schneider will go out, be aggressive, and make moves. Charles, what do you think about potentially Trey Hendrickson?
When you bring up pass rush, it feels like for years I've kind of been wondering, hey, when are they going to improve the pass? I love Boye Mafe. I'm really excited. But, again, you talk about production. Hasn't necessarily been there. So you talk about known commodity. I don't think he's playing another game in Cincinnati. I think that bridge is burned. I don't know what the hell the Bengals are doing.
Shamar
exactly.
Stewart,
I was like, do you know?
They can't even sign their first round
pick. Just going to piss everybody off.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, if the Bengals want to pick up the phone, which I don't see why they wouldn't, you talk about the draft picks, Go ahead. You've got the there shouldn't be anything holding you back.
The only thing I would say is Trey Hendrickson that guy? I understand he produced. I understand
17 and a half sacks, a lot of sacks.
You know what? Sometimes the numbers do lie. I like a jumpy athlete. I like a twitchy athlete. I don't think he's that guy. I want a one-trick pony that go get that quarterback every single time, you know. So I don't know if he's that guy. Maybe he is. Maybe he's not. But I think they need to scour the league and find that guy.
You know who's not a one-trick pony that does pretty well for the Seahawks?
Who is that?
Leonard Williams.
Okay. All right.
He can defend the run. He can defend the pass. He's just good all around. The Seahawks need more guys to elevate their floor. They have a lot of solid players. Trey Hendrickson gives you that star power, that star production, D-Jack, that we've been talking about, that we want on this football team.
All right.
So
all right.
Hey, he's probably, the NFL Top 100's coming out. Trey Hendrickson's probably going to be ranked higher than any Seahawk that's going to show up on the list. If Leonard Williams is number 99,
that's just
I cannot imagine how many. Are there going to be any other Seahawks on that list?
Yes, Devin Witherspoon for sure.
Spoon.
I don't know if Spoon's going to be above Leonard. I don't know.
Yes, and
I hope so.
And Julian Love.
I think Leonard Williams is better than Devin Witherspoon right now.
Right now,
in my opinion.
Right now, yes. I think that changes soon.
Absolutely.
Of course.
But for this list, I just don't see anybody being above Leonard Williams, which is why him being at 99 was so disappointing.
Yes, and Julian Love will probably be on that list also, if you ask me. So
absolutely.
Those are two players I think will be on that list.
Really quick, is there a big headline that you're looking for heading into training camp? Big headline that you're looking out for?
Byron Murphy explodes.
Yes.
I'm looking for him to have a breakout season. I truly believe in this player, and I think he'll finally get his chance to shine this year. I'm looking out for Byron Murphy to have a great year, a bounce back year. His rookie season was okay. It was decent. Now I'm looking for a breakout star. Byron Murphy is that guy.
I want to see the run game come back. I grew up here in run-first offenses in high school and college. Run the damn ball. I just need to see more from, because that opens things up. I'm thinking about this offense here. If Cooper Kupp stays healthy, knock on wood.
Right.
They get a playmaker there. Marquez Valdez-Scantling can take the top off. You run the ball. You can set up it just opens everything up. Maybe it's old school, but run the damn ball.
But who is that wide receiver threat that's going to allow them to run the ball? So, you don't have a speedster there. You have MVS. I don't know.
Yeah, JSN's going to be dangerous.
Oh, gosh.
JSN's going to be dangerous this year. But you've got two dudes in JSN and Cooper Kupp who know how to work in space and dice up a zone, good at separating in man coverage. Again, if Cooper Kupp can stay healthy, I think, with Cooper Kupp, this receiving core can be serviceable to what you need to do on offense to supplant the elite defense that you're probably going to have.
And you talk about the running game, Charles. I'm sorry. I wanted a flipping of positions between Ken Walker and Charbonnet, Zach Charbonnet. I actually think Zach Charbonnet should be that starter. Now, I said it in a previous podcast. I believe Ken Walker is more talented. I think he's the better running back. But who fits better right now for the running style that the coach wants to run, McDonald, and this team wants to run? I think Zach Charbonnet fills that role a little bit better. Let him be the hammer, and then Ken Walker comes in as a change of pace, and I think this running game will take off. Okay. Just by flopping those positions. What did you think about that, Charles?
I think that because Zach's pure power. He's as you mentioned,
north-south.
Yep, north-south.
Get downhill.
The hammer, and then you bring in a guy like Ken Walker, who you talk about twitchy athlete.
Yes.
That's a twitchy athlete. As much as he's dealt with injury, when he's healthy, knock on wood again. You bring that in, though, you get again and again and again with a hammer, and you bring a twitchy athlete, defenses will wear out over time. So I can understand that. That makes sense
Charles,
to me.
that's a really good point. You bring up the injuries. That could be a way to sort of get some of the toll off of Ken Walker.
It will help his
try
career.
to get him through an entire season. Okay. So I like it. The storyline that I'm looking out for really quick before we move on, the right guard position. That's going to be a big battle along that offensive line. We talked ad nauseum over the offseason about the offensive line. We thought they were going to invest in free agency. They didn't. They go and get Gray's Abel. Is that going to be enough, though? Curtis Crabtree came on the show, and he had a really good point of this front office is betting on these young players they have. Christian Haynes, Satal Lamea, Anthony Bradford. 3 draft picks in the last 2 seasons just at that guard position that they're believing with better coaching that they will be able to improve. Christian Haynes couldn't even make the active roster last year. So he's a guy that I'm going to have my eyes on. A 3rd-round pick is not insignificant value. Nope. You know, and if John Schneider's saying that whatever was in the free agent class is not good enough to start at that right guard spot to replace Laken Tomlinson, a veteran along that offensive line, you know, then you have to get production out of those young guys. It can't just be, oh, they're young, you know, like, what do you expect from a young guy? No, you bet on them.
Yes.
Like, you need them to be better. If they're not better up front, in the trenches in this Clint Kubiak offense, I mean, what are they going to do? They're not going to be able to run the ball. That's what they're not going to be able to do.
Yeah, that is a great point. That was something I was like, you know, if that had to be like my 1B headline is, what the hell is the offensive line? Sorry for that word. But no, I was really high on Christian Haynes coming out of last year's draft. You know, they talked about he was durable and he was this mauler. And then, like you're saying, there were games where he wasn't even active. I'm like, this isn't. So I am a bit worried at that. Gray Zabel seems like a hog, corn-fed, all that, sure. But like, yeah, you mentioned that. You know, you that was a storyline every week. Was which guard's going to fill in this week? Yeah. You can't have that happen.
I think Bradford is going to be that guy. Okay. I think he'll take this position by the reins and run with it. I like Bradford. I like his physicality. I like his size. I think Bradford, this would be his, 4th year, I believe, 3rd year. So he's still a young player. He should be coming into his own right about now. I think Bradford is going to take that spot.
Let's go. We do need to wrap this up because we need to run, but we do have more Seahawks later. Our top 5 dead or alive, so please stick around for that. Yes. It's going to be a fun list that DJ compiled. It's going to be sort of a trip down memory lane.
Dead or alive.
Yes, a trip down memory lane for the Seattle Seahawks. For now, though, let's go over to our conversation on NBA expansion with Seattle Times reporter Tim Booth. All right, we're back here on the sidelines with another special guest for today's episode, Seattle Times sports reporter Tim Booth. Tim, thank you so much for joining us. You were in New York last week for the Board of Governors meeting for talking about NBA expansion. I mean, how was New York? Did you enjoy it, and how did the meeting go for you?
Well, this meeting actually was in Las Vegas. I was in New York covering the Mariners last week, and then ended up in Vegas. So. It's never a bad thing to go to Las Vegas for really anything. So, but yeah, it was an interesting meeting. I think it was a little disappointing if you're a fan around here, hoping that this expansion process is going to move quicker than apparently the NBA wants it to move right now. So, we didn't get a whole ton of news out of it, other than I think it's pretty apparent at this point that this is going to be a much slower process, a little bit more of a tedious process, and ultimately take longer to actually see an NBA team potentially on the court here in Seattle than anybody was really first thinking or hoping.
Tim, when you say slower process, is there a time frame? In your opinion, what would be the fastest, I guess, you can see expansion in your eyes that you can see?
Well, Adam Silver made it clear that there is no timeline at this point. And they kind of gave a charge to these 2 committees that already exist on the Board of Governors to start investigating it, the idea of expansion a little bit deeper. There's a ton of factors at play here. One is this year is going to be the first year that the NBA's new media rights deal is going to kick in. And it's the first time all of these owners are going to see this kind of influx of revenue coming into their pockets that gets distributed by the league. So I think there's a lot of owners who want to see ultimately what that does to their bottom line before they consider potentially cutting up the pie a little bit more. The NBA has invested deeply in trying to get some sort of branded product off the ground in Europe, whether that ends up being a league or just partnerships with the leagues that already exist over in Europe. And so that's taking up a fair amount of their time right now. And then there's a lot of uncertainty about what the 32nd team might be right now. We've all thought all along it's going to be Vegas. It should be Vegas. But there's a lot of questions there right now about who the owner is going to be, what the arena situation is. Are they going to try and build a new arena? Are they going to try and partner and play at T-Mobile Arena where the Golden Knights play at? So there's a lot of uncertainty about that, and I don't know if the leagues have gone with odd numbers before, but I don't know if the NBA wants to go down that road yet of potentially saying, okay, we're going to have 31 with Seattle at some point, and then add a 32nd team conceivably in Vegas a little bit later. So to get back to your original question, it's definitely 2028 now at the very earliest. I think there's a very real possibility we're talking 2029 before we potentially actually see a team on the court representing Seattle.
I don't know. I don't know if you came into the meetings in Vegas with any sort of expectations about what Adam Silver was going to say. For me, hearing him list off all of the different, I don't want to say excuses, but reasons why the NBA wouldn't expand, I don't think that would have been on my list. Does that concern you, just the tone, the him listing the reasons that why the NBA wouldn't expand as to why it might be a benefit to the league?
Yeah, it's a really good point, Ethan. I think the idea that if you look back 12, 18 months ago, anytime expansion was brought up, you felt like there was kind of a tone of excitement from Silver. And at least coming out of this meeting, it definitely felt like he was trying to pump the brakes significantly on the momentum behind it. And by doing that, he brought up a lot of reasons why it may not happen. And if you're a fan, it's the last thing you want to hear is the reasons why it's not going to happen. I think I was curious how his whole day one comment was going to play here, and I don't think it played very, very well because, yes, from the NBA's perspective and from their procedural perspective, yeah, it was day one by getting the okay for these committees to start investigating it and looking into it more. But it's certainly not day one for fans here, or day one for fans in Mexico City or in Vegas or in Montreal or name your other city that's been kind of talked about for a long time as a potential expansion location. So yeah, the tone I think is, I don't know if concerning is the right word. I guess maybe disappointing would be the better word, that it wasn't. There wasn't this sort of excitement around, hey, we're going to start this process. It was, hey, we're kind of starting this process sort of because we have to, and we're not going to promise you anything. And here's all the reasons why we might not eventually do it. I think that was clearly everything Adam Silver does is very calculated. So it was very calculated on his part. But I think if you're a fan, it was kind of a very disappointing tone to hear coming out of it.
Is there still a grudge held against Seattle? I know it was David Stern who was the commissioner, but Adam Silver was actually his deputy commissioner at that time, so his right-hand person. What's the difference between Seattle and Charlotte? Because Charlotte lost a team, and they got a team 2 years later, I believe. What's the difference between these two situations?
Right now, it's a really good question. The state of the NBA at the time that the Bobcats and now Hornets were brought back into the league versus where the league is now was significantly different. So I think that played a part of it. I think if we go back pre-COVID, if this is 2018, we're really talking about the potential of expansion. And Climate Pledge was already built, and you already had an ownership group kind of in place and everything. I think the team would have started within 2 to 3 years. The NBA landscape has changed dramatically in the last 3 years. You went from teams that had valuations of barely $1 billion or $2 billion to where you're talking about teams with valuations or selling at valuations of $6 billion and $10 billion. That's a different level of math that they never had to take into account before. There's also the case of you've had a whole influx of new owners come into the league in the last several years, and they don't have the same history or the same legacy feel that maybe others do about, hey, we got to right the wrong from what happened in Seattle, and they look more at the bottom line of the finances and how the valuations are going up and what that means for their individual franchises. I genuinely think that Silver wants expansion, and I think he genuinely wants to bring a team back to Seattle. I wrote it last week. I think this is very much a legacy play for Adam Silver, that while his predecessor was instrumental in the team leaving, that part of his legacy as a commissioner is going to be bringing the league back to Seattle. But he's ultimately at the whim of his owners. And if you have owners who don't care about legacy or don't care about righting a wrong and really are only interested in what the bottom line is of what new media rights deals and valuations do to their individual franchises, then until you convince them otherwise, they're not going to be as excited at moving forward on adding teams and bringing the Sonics back. So it's a very different landscape from 2004, the last time that the league expanded, and I think that plays largely into why this is going to be a long drawn out process.
Out of all the reasons that Adam Silver listed for why maybe the league would be against expansion, the one that I understand the most is the owners don't want to split the pie, and James Dolan with the Knicks maybe wanted to be a little greedy and keep everything to himself, even though expansion would help the league grow financially. The one that I wasn't as familiar with was the league and their plans in Europe. What do you know about that whole process, what they want to do, and how would that impact the expansion process?
Well, the league has obviously become more global. I mean, you just look at the amount of star players you now have from outside the United States, and ultimately, it's not the NBA launching a league per se in Europe, but it's them essentially partnering with FIBA and the Euro League that already exists, and kind of just saying, hey, we feel like we have a model that can promote the game better, can give you more exposure, can make you more money, and if you partner with us, we'll give you some branding, we'll give you the NBA cachet, so to speak, and see how far this can grow, and see if maybe someday you can get to the point where you're talking about a global NBA league. That's obviously something that's way down the road, but this is maybe the first baby step toward that. And the league's they see an opportunity to make money first and foremost. They see an opportunity to expand their footprint. And they have a lot of investment already put into this. And I had someone in Las Vegas tell me the NBA can't do two things at once. They're just incapable of being able to accomplish that. And so because they've already gone ahead and gone down the road of this Europe project and trying to get that off the ground, that's going to take up a lot of their focus over the next 12 months or so to really get that ready so it can start potentially in 2027. And because of that, expansion more or less takes maybe not a back seat, but a side seat to how that whole process works with what they need to do to get this Europe product off the ground. So that ultimately plays a factor in the timing of all this. And I understand where the league is coming from, because if you have, Nikola Jokic and all these other great players that are coming from Europe, why don't you try and maximize the ability to promote your own brand and expand your brand in that part of the world?
Tim, last question quickly. Portland Trailblazers up for sale. Should Seattle set their sights? Is there a chance for relocation? Because I think we need to refocus our attention on relocating a franchise. I know a lot of people not cool with that, but right now I just want a team. What do you think about relocation of the Trailblazers?
I hate it. I think the Blazers should stay in Portland, but what we heard from the commissioner in Vegas, that's a playbook straight out of 2005, 2006, 2007 that we all heard here with the Sonics. Mm-hmm. And so if you're a Blazers fan, you need to be at least on alert that the NBA is clear that that whatever renovations you were planning to the Moda Center probably isn't good enough for them. That if you're an owner coming into that market, you need to try and figure out a way to privately come up with some sort of arena plan to replace Moda Center, because Portland's just as stubborn when it comes to public financing of stadiums and arenas as Seattle is. So you're not going to be able to really get much public support for that. You're going to have to find land. You're going to have to find investors. You're going to have to find all those different aspects that go into that we've all gone through here for years until Climate Pledge got redone. So I hate the idea of relocating the Blazers. I think they're an institution there. I think they should absolutely stay in Portland. But Silver kind of laid the breadcrumbs of at least throwing out the idea of leverage and pressure points, and how that might not be as straightforward of a sale as everyone first thought it was going to be. And whether it's, and I really hope the Blazers, that doesn't become an issue, that they're able to stay in Portland. But the longer that process goes and the longer expansion is delayed, the more you're going to hear conversations of how potentially relocation might end up being the best way for the NBA to come back to Seattle.
Well, he is the expert on NBA expansion for the Seattle Times. Tim Booth, thank you so much for taking the time. And enjoy sunny Southern California with this upcoming Mariners road trip. So thanks so much.
And bring back our Sonics.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we're back. Thanks again to Tim Booth for taking the time to talk expansion with us, even if it wasn't the news that we all wanted to hear from Las Vegas, that Board of Governors meeting. Not a no, but not a yes. So we'll see on that. We'll continue to monitor that, and be sure to check out for Tim's reports, because he is all over this expansion stuff. So be sure to check him out at the Seattle Times. Let's go rapid fire through a couple of teams. We are short on time. First, the Storm. They're opening the second half tonight against Dallas. They sit in sole possession of fourth place, just 2 games back of second place in the New York Liberty. But there have been some inconsistencies so far this year through the first half. Charles, what do you make of the inconsistencies? Is fourth place their ceiling, do you think, or are they capable of more, given the inconsistencies we've seen?
I think they're capable of more. It's just what I'm really worried about is your big three and relying on them so much, right? You've got your top three, your big three, Gabby, Skylar, Nneka, in the top 20 for minutes played per game. Yeah. That's not good. You can't run the wheels off these folks, right? Mm-hmm. And you look at the production from the rest. I don't remember if we talked about it when I was here last with, opening the season. Lexi Brown's giving you next to nothing. Yeah. You're giving weird minutes to Dominique Malonga. You've picked up Tiffany Mitchell, who's eaten a bunch of guard minutes. I'm just worried that you either don't get enough production from your bench or you don't trust them, Malonga, and it's going to burn these guys out. Just like last season, they were burnt out by the time we got to Vegas. That can't happen again if your aspirations are a title. Yes. Right? So I think it heavily
we're talking about the first round of the playoffs.
Yes, it's like one and done. I mean, do you want to do that again? I don't. I would like to see a deep playoff run. So I think it all hinges on coaching, the coaching staff and how they manage this roster. Because I think there are pockets where they, you can give, Gabby's been playing nearly every minute. Yeah. And I understand the value that she's got, but that's not sustainable, right? Last thing you need is someone to go down. So that's where my concern is because they've beaten every contender. Yes. They've beaten New York twice. They've beaten the Lynx. They've beaten Atlanta and Phoenix twice.
And the Aces twice.
Yeah, you've handled the 8. I do think they can beat anybody, but
they can lose to anybody too.
Yeah,
that too.
I was just about to say it perplexes me that they go and lose to the Valkyries twice.
Oh,
so with all those wins and they go and lose to an expansion team. Now it's funny that you said it, Charles, because we in lockstep, because I said the Storm should be better than they are. You talking about 3 All-Stars who showed off in this All-Star game. Yeah. Skylar Diggins, a triple-double, the first ever triple-double in WNBA All-Star game history, and set the record with 15 assists for an All-Star game. And then you have Nneka. She, 16 points, 16, 17. Gabby was the same. You still have a defensive player in a year candidate in Ezzy Magbagor. This team has all the talent in the world. They should be better than their record shows. So, which begs the question, what's the problem? What's going on with the Storm? I think they should be better, and it always comes back to coaching. I don't know what to say about that, but I'm just saying, like, this team should be better than what they are.
I feel like, Charles, it's a really good point. It's very clear that Noah Quinn does not trust her bench, and specifically Dominique Malonga, and that makes sense to me given she's a 19-year-old and needs to grow. But, I mean, it's like, at this rate, it's going to be a one and done, or they win in the first round and they get bounced in the second round. So why not try to improve the ceiling of this team by putting trust in Dominique Malonga and letting her fail and whatever happens. So that's sort of what I want to see in the second half, is for Dominique's role to sort of grow and to just let Noelle let her make mistakes. That's how she's going to grow, and that's how this team is going to get better at the end of the day. Yep. Because you're right. You're getting next to nothing off the bench, and even if Nneka, Skylar, Gabby don't go down, they're going to be absolutely exhausted by the time playoffs come, and that's where things get intense. Yep. So you need them to be at their freshest if you want them to carry your team. Coming out of the break, the next 5 games, Storm don't play a single team with a record over 500. You got to take advantage.
I think this is the time. I think it's the time for Coach Quinn to stretch her team out, and I think she will. You talking about Clark. Clark, this is her time.
Yeah.
You've been kind of saving her for the first half. Now this is her time. Mm-hmm. She's a veteran player. I think the second half into the playoffs, you'll see her role expand more. I think Malonga will get those minutes. So I think this is the time right now, right after the All-Star break, to start stretching this team out and playing a lot more players and building the team a championship contender.
As I mentioned, the next 5 games, not a single team over 500 in that stretch. So take advantage. How about 5-0 out of the break? That'd be pretty fun, right? Starts tonight against the Dallas Wings and Paige Beckers. We'll see what they can do. Let's go to the Sounders. They just had a 3-game week. Mix a little bit of disappointment in. What was it? It wasn't San Jose. What was the game where they was it 3-3? Yeah, Colorado. I believe it was Colorado.
With the Rapids.
But all in all, they get 7 out of the 9 points from the 3 games. They sit in sole possession of 4th place, our Seattle Sounders. So not too bad. The big headline, obviously, unfortunately, Jordan Morris will need surgery on his shoulder. That AC joint left the game early against Sporting Kansas City. Charles, what do you make of the Sounders this recent stretch? And now without Jordan Morris.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I mean, because Danny Musovsky earlier in the season had this, I use this term all the time, his Linsanity run, where he was scoring all these goals. And then he comes off the bench in this last match and decides, hey, I'm going to turn it back on again. Mm-hmm. I still would love for the Sounders to be able to add a striker. I would, just like, I'm going to do this to you, Ethan. I like my Arsenal needed a striker.
Yes.
But you know what does encourage me is Pedro de la Vega had arguably his best game as a Sounder this last match.
I would say definitively. He was incredible.
You get that. I already feel like with the pure talent-wise with this Sounders club, you can win MLS Cup this year. Mm-hmm. I truly believe that if you play to your ability, you can win that. But when you've got Pedro underperforming, you've got essentially a miss. I could play. It's like I'm playing striker right now for them. Nothing's going on up there outside of Danny Musovsky's last game. I am encouraged though. You've scored 3 goals in your last 3 matches each. That's good. The only
first
problem
time since 2021 that they've done that.
Jeez, wow. Yeah. The only problem was the penalties for a while there. 6 penalties conceded in your last 6 league matches coming into the last match. That was weird. I don't know if you wanted to, mention that, but it was very odd.
It's weird.
But I feel encouraged by the swing just because you've been scoring,
Yeah. Well, sorry, go ahead.
You talk about your players being extended. How about Vargas and Rodon, Christian Rodon? They're playing a lot of minutes, and people are worried about that. But I like this team just like you do, Charles. And I scream from the rooftops, start Musovsky, even if Jordan Morris is back. You can't help the club in the tub. And I understand he's great player. He's a great Sounders, but I think his time is up. I mean, and I think this team will gain confidence if it's a time frame where if they say, hey, he's out for the remainder of the season, then Musovsky can take that position and not look back. I believe in Danny. He's shown an ability to put the ball in the back of the net. He's done that. And it's no denying that. So, hey, get well soon, Jordan Morris. But Danny's in that spot, and I think he'll take it and run with it. And you'll see a Sounders team that will skyrocket to the top of the standings.
I will say, Charles, it's similar to our Storm conversation of how Dominique Malonga can raise this team's ceiling. Pedro de la Vega can do the exact same thing for the Sounders.
Oh, yeah.
He's your record-signing designated player who you're supposed to be getting the most production out of, and he's struggling to find minutes in the starting lineup. Now he's sort of announced himself, but he needs to keep it going.
Yes.
We saw this at the beginning of the year. He had an incredible performance. I believe it was against Antigua, maybe he had another one in league play, and it was like Brian Schmetzer was like, "We have our designated player. We have a new designated player." Like that can absolutely change the fast of a roster, specifically in the salary cap league with the MLS and how much rosters are limited. You need to get production out of your designated player. So awesome to see Pedro sort of come back, return, and announce his return to the Sounders starting lineup. And he's awesome defensively as well. So, he comes in for Paul Rothrock, who's great defensively on the wing. You think you're sort of sacrificing some defense for some more offensive prowess, some more playmaking on the wing, but he's fantastic. I feel like his work rate's really good up and down. So I like the lineup right now with Ferreira on the right, with Pedro on the left, and then I disagree with you. I would love to see Jordan up there, but Danny, I think, has done admirably in Jordan's place.
The only problem I have with that is I think Rothrock has been the Sounders' best player all season long. Most consistent player. I mean, we're not talking about names. We're talking about games. And I've watched that. And I like Paul Rothrock, his work rate. I like the way he plays. Hair on fire, always 100% effort. He's been their best player. So now that De La Vega is coming on, you want to move him to the left in Rothrock's position? I don't know about that. I want De La Vega to get those minutes, definitely, but I don't think at the expense of Rothrock.
Interesting. So you take out Ferreira?
Yes. Yes.
Ooh.
It's two goals. I mean, he can be considered a designated player. He's been picking it up lately. But why did he get the benefit of the doubt that De La Vega didn't get all season?
Yeah. I feel like when you have a player in a good run of form, the couple of goals in the last few games, like you got to ride that out, and you got to let a Jesus Ferreira with the potential that he has, sort of ride that out. It's a tough question because I would agree with you.
That's what I said about Musovski. That's exactly what I said. Like, he's scoring too many goals to take him out of the game. Now, we put a Jordan Morris in there that's not fully healthy, even from his previous injury. Now he's hurt again.
Yeah.
And I understand he's a Sounders great. No disrespect. But we're talking about today, not yesterday. Danny is that guy right now.
Yeah. Okay. We do need to get going, and I want to get to top 5 dead or alive. So let's move
on. Top 5 dead or alive.
The Sounders, they've got Atlanta on Saturday before Leagues Cup play. So we'll be watching them. Hopefully they can keep this good run going.
Go Sounders.
Top 5 dead or alive, Dante. What do you got?
Top 5 dead or alive.
And I got video for this one. If you're listening on audio,
Seahawks.
Go over to YouTube and the Fox local app.
Now we talking about Seahawks' best plays. We could say best plays in history, but it's recent history. So number 1. Are we gonna go with 1 or we gonna go 5? We're gonna start with 5.
Start at the bottom.
All right, 5. Russ, Danger Russ, his improbable scramble and completion of Luke Wilson. Look at this. I mean, come on. Just throws it up there. 2-point conversion. Luke grabs it. It was very important. Then Jermaine Hurst, scored the touchdown. That was a great play, too. But that scramble and that just throw, backyard football as they call it, this is Danger Russ in peak form right here. This is why he's one of the greatest Seahawks ever, no cap.
I think the craziest part about this play is if this gets picked off, it gets taken the other way for pick 6, and Green Bay takes the lead there, getting the kickoff.
Yeah, they lose the game.
Which is just, it's crazy how immaculate that throw was.
Yes. All right, here we go. Number 4, Tyler Lockett, TD Lockett, toe tap catch from Russell Wilson again. Look at the scramble to the left. Look at the throw, improbable throw. Here we go. Look at the toes. Toe tap Tyler. And then he knew he was in. Look at him celebrating. They replayed this thing for like 10 minutes to find out if it was really a touchdown, but Tyler knew it was a touchdown. Look at the throw, the scramble. He puts the fake on 32. Here we go. Push off, box him out, get the toes in. Look at the toes right here. I mean, about 10 blades of grass in between that and the sideline? Great catch by Tyler Lockett, a great Seahawk. Hate to see him in a Titans uniform.
Number 3?
All right, number 3, Cam Chancellor set the tone. Bam, bam, Cam right here. Vernon Davis is still feeling his hit. Now, you see all the yellow right there. They gave him a flag. They gave him a penalty, right? Now, I found out later that they never fined Cam for this because they even admitted that it was clean. It was so violent that they had to throw the flag. Look at this right here. Vernon Davis is still shaking in his boots from this hit. This set the tone. The rivalry was so great between these two teams. This is one of the iconic moments in Seahawk history, that hit by Bam Bam Cam.
I think it's got to be one of the best hits of all time.
Yes.
Easily.
I mean, you're talking about the Super Bowl, Demaryius Thomas also. Bam Bam Cam set the tone for this defense.
All right, number 2.
All right, number 2, Beastquake. I mean, what more can you say? Beastquake right here. Look at the run. He get off me. He gets low. All right, here we go. 2, 3, 4, 5. Get off me. Here we go. Send him home. All right. Then,
7-9 Seahawks, by the way.
The cherry on top right here, the celebration. What more can you say? 2.0 on the Richter scale. I mean, it measured on the seismograph right here. The 12s was in peak form right here. They were so loud. Get off me. It was the 7-9 Seahawks beat the favorites and Saints. This was a playoff game. And the celebration, I mean, what more can you
Chef's
say?
kiss, right?
Yes.
What can beat that, D-Jack?
I mean, the most iconic, best play in Seahawk history, the tip.
Yeah.
Sorry, Crabtree. All right, here we go. Look at the tip. And underrated is the pick off by Smith. But the tip, they say this is going to be the statue of Richard Sherman out front of Lumen Field one day. It will be the tip. Great play. Sorry, Crabtree. And here go Richard Sherman, the mouthpiece of LOB, with one of the more iconic moments. Better than the play was the rant with Aaron Andrews after the game when he said, "Don't ever disrespect me. When you come at me with a sorry player like Crabtree, those are the results you're going to get." All right? Who's talking about you, Richard? Crabtree. Sorry, Crabtree.
Iconic.
The tip, the number 1 play in Seahawks history, in my opinion. D-tip, Richard Sherman, one of the greatest players in Seahawks.
Charles, do you agree with the rankings
It's
there?
a pretty great list. And that's not just because I didn't get your list.
All right.
That is number 1 undefined. You mentioned it. There should be a statue outside of Lumen because that's the Super Bowl right there.
Yes.
I mean, Broncos.
Yes,
that
wipe
was
the
the Super
floor.
Bowl. So yeah, that's a great list. That is a great list.
What about you?
I
What
think
you
there's
think?
an argument for the Beastquake. But I like that you put Sherm's tip at number 1 because it led to the Super Bowl. When I think of Seahawk iconic plays, Beastquake number 1, Sherm tip number 2 for me. But I'm not going to fault you at all for putting Sherm's tip number 1. So I think it's an excellent.
Well, the tip led also to the rant. I mean, the rant was a cherry on top. I mean, I'd rather listen to that all day than actually see the tip. That was when we, announced ourselves. We're LOB.
That was peak LOB.
Yes,
That was,
yes. I mean, the tip along with the rant, number 1 play, one of the defining moments in Seahawk history right there.
Yeah.
Give it up to Richard Sherman.
Excellent list. Thank you so much. That's going to do it for this episode of On the Sidelines. Charles, really quick, where can everyone find your excellent
Everywhere.
work with Circling Seattle Sports? Where you're literally everywhere.
All of the social media platforms at Circling Seattle Sports. There's a Mariners game we got to be at tonight, so we'll be working on that. I got someone at Storm tonight. See how Paige Beckers plays. Hopefully not too great, but yeah, at Circling Seattle Sports on everything. Just grateful to be back with you guys because this is always a lot of fun.
And plug the hockey too. I see you with the hockey also.
All the PWHL content. Like I feel like you're doing most in the entire city. So if you're
not me.
If you're looking for PWHL content, go over to Circling Seattle Sports. Charles and his team is doing incredible. You mentioned Mariners, Storm. You're doing rain stuff today. You're doing a Sounders pod. You're taping into the Sounders box. So Charles is literally doing everything, and we're just grateful that you're able to come on and make time for us.
Always glad to come on.
Yes.
Yeah. For Charles, D-Jack, I'm Ethan McReynolds. We'll see you next time on the Sidelines.
Let's go!
On the Sidelines is available wherever you get your podcast.